Okay, so we're working on our cereal box project, and we've looked at a few cereal mascot characters. We got Captain Crunch, we got this leprechaun guy from Lucky Charms. Gotta love him, very sprightly fellow. And we have Super Sugar Crisp Sugar Bear. I'm not even sure if he's still active, but he's a very cool character. So we're looking at how to create our own characters, and what I've done is I've created a couple of sketches. I'm eventually going to use this guy for mine. He's a monkey. He has in his hand a bowl and a spoon, and he's trying to bring the spoon towards us. So I have to work on that sketch some more. What I want to do today is show you how to use this guy. We're going to use him as our sample for our monkey. You can create any character you want, but I'm using a monkey for mine, and we're going to see how to make a Illustrator line drawing of him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by making a new document. And in this one, we've been working in pixels so far. I'm going to use inches in this one. I'm going to measure 5 by 4 inches. And what I did is I measured Captain Crunch off the front of a cereal box to get that size. Now, if you click on the Advanced button here, you'll see CMYK, which is print colors. And you want to use 300 pixels per inch on your raster effect. We may not necessarily need that because that's for bitmap images imported, but we're still going to use it. And click, and now we're all set. So here's our blank drawing space. I'm going to place my drawing. Now this drawing I did, let's make sure I've got the right one. I can click here and choose icons. That's what I want. What I did is I actually took a photograph of this with my cell phone, and as you can see, it's way bigger than my drawing space. So if I zoom out and I use the space bar and the not the space bar, the shift key, I can scale this down to the right size. So that's a little bit better. And I'm going to center him on my picture. Now I need to make sure I'm going to use my layers correctly, because if I don't, stuff's going to move around. I need to make sure I separate stuff. I should tell you right now, in this exercise, we're only going to do line work, because the color work we're going to do in Adobe Photoshop. Let's lock this. Let's even dim that out some more. So I've got this set back to 30%. And my purpose there is to not be distracted by that picture while I'm drawing other stuff. Okay, so there's my new layer. And I should name these. I can call this one sketch. Sometimes just call it SK. Doesn't matter. And this one is going to be line. Okay, so now in the end we're going to have no sketch. We're going to get rid of that, but we are going to have our line layer. So let me just collapse this for now, and let me zoom in and start drawing some stuff. Now this is clearly drawn from some basic shapes, and I'm not going to use fill. The reason we're not going to use fill is because we want to make sure that is clear. So we can see all of our lines, and we're going to draw with shapes. We're also going to introduce today some new tools like the pencil and the pen, which sound like they're similar, but they're not. They're very different. So with this, I'm drawing an oval. Now I don't want it too oval. I don't want it too natural looking. Too geometric. I want a natural sort of organic shape, which means it's sort of unpredictable. It's not always perfect like a circle or even an ellipse. So I'm just going to draw this, and at some point I'm going to be cutting pieces off this because I don't really need the circle going all the way around. What this indicates is what is known as the muzzle of the monkey, and that part is his muzzle. You know what I might do actually, even though I said we weren't going to use fill, I'm going to fill this one in because I'm going to have a shape back here for his head. Now as you can see, I've covered up some of the drawings I need, so I can always adjust. Problem solving. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to forget all this, and we're going to use those two tools I mentioned earlier. Let's use the pencil. And the nice thing about the pencil, let's kill the fill, is I can use it to draw. Now I'm drawing with the mouse, which is pretty ineffective, and as you can see, I got pretty far off. But the pencil draws these lines that create points, and I can sort of correct this and adjust it as I go to build that shape up. I can even take points out, because sometimes a lot of points just creates more roughness and complexity, so I can take these out as I go. There's some ways to remove points or average things out effectively, so I can use the arrow keys for this, and like I said, I can take points out. So I'm taking points out to reduce some of the complexity. So I'm using the points, and I'm using the handles attached to the points. Let's zoom in and check that out. Yes, here is a point, and as you can see, there's a handle attached to the point. The handle is what's known as a tangent. In geometry, a tangent is a line that intersects a circle or an arc or a curve at exactly one point. And the purpose of the tangent here, and it's called a handle, is to, whoops, as you can see that one bad, Control Z is your friend. The purpose of these handles is to give us a way to control the shape of the curve. So if I use the handle here, I can bring that out, and handle on the other side controls that curve. Double click to zoom out. Now really, this line should be thicker because it really is the outline. So now I can go up here and increase the size of the line, and let's just go a bit further. Sometimes I need to remind myself that those lines need to be bolder than I think they need to be. So I'm going to go now here, and I'm going to draw this nostril. I like that. But this one is an interior shape, and I want this to be a little bit thinner. Now you notice the ends of the lines are real square, and what this needs to be is more tapered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my brush menu. I'm going to select a new batch of brushes. I like to use the artistic ink set, and there it is. And the one I like to use here is the tapered at both ends, because if I select this and choose tapered at both ends, wow, does not look horrible. The reason is it's too thick. So let's bring it down, and now I've got a nice tapered line at each end, and I can control this as I see fit. Let me take a couple points out, and I want to control that line with the curve, with the there we go. So I want it pointing down at the end. Still a lot of points here I could take out, because as you saw, I drew it rough with the pencil, and there we go. I'm going to take this one out because it's really pointless. So I'm taking making a mistake. Control Z. Control Z is your friend. So what I'm trying to do is adjust this. Oops, it moved. Control Z. You know, making mistakes is part of the process, so what you have to do is learn how to recover from those mistakes, such as life. Okay, so I take this. I'm going to take this point out, and as I build this up, I'm trying to get a more curvy nostril shape. So I can do one of two things. I can copy that and paste it over, or I can just draw a whole nother one. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm just going to copy and paste, and object, transform, reflect through the y-axis. Now I'm going to go like this. As you can see, it should be appearing in front of that part of the line there. So to make up for that, I'm going to use fill. So most of the time, I'm not going to use fill, but when I want to hide something behind, I'm going to use fill. And I'm not going to see white in the end because, here, let's take a look at my layers panel. That sketch is going to disappear. Okay, so I'm going to keep using either the regular brush, the straight line, or the, you know what, I might even just change this one too. Because, let's see, if I go back up to my brushes here, there's my tapered line. Way too thick, because that default thickness of that one is kind of mega, kind of large. So I'm going to bring that one down. So the outlines are still going to be the most important dominating line I've got. So let me zoom back in. And you know what is much better than drawing with the mouse like I am right now? Is you grab a tablet, a Wacom Bamboo or Intuos or, gosh, they make several. The Graphire is pretty good. So there's the shape of the top of his head. And as you can see, it came out kind of thin. And I'm just going to bump up the size a bit more. That's better. Okay, and you know what? There's actually a tool in here. Let me see if I can remember where it is. Let's see. If I choose Object and Path and Simplify, you can actually preview it so that you can... Yeah, I like that a lot better. Let's go a little bit more. And you know what? I don't know what these controls do. That's the truth. But what it did is it took out a lot of points, and now it's a lot easier to correct and adjust and edit this shape because there's a lot less points in it. So that command I just did, now I can't even remember what it was. Let's go look. Object, Path, that was Simplify, Simplify. And to simplify means, in this case, it's going to take out some of the points. Okay, so here's this. And the fewer points there are, the much easier it is to control your simple shapes. I like that a lot. Let me move this behind, and I'm going to look at my layers panel because I want to see that that's behind. Ooh, that's in front. So I can take this and run it behind everything else. The reason I'm doing that is I I do need that to appear behind everything else. And again, I'm holding off on a couple things here because let's do the ear now. Ear, pretty easy shape. It's shaped like a C. And here I'm going to use the tapered brush. Oh, that's too thick. And I'm going to fill it in with white because I need it to hide the shape of the head behind it. So now I can draw another one for the other part of the ear. With this one, let's see if I can get away with just leaving that normal style. Oh, you know what? Ears are more complicated than that. There we go. That'll work. All right, now there's some other details on the head I need to take care of, and I'm going to come back to you in just a few minutes with that. All right, so as you can see, I have added some lines here for the like hairdo. Now, monkeys don't have a hairdo, but this guy, because we're trying to relate to him as a human being, he does. Now, this I'm going to add the fill to because I need to hide the shape of the head behind. And this one I'm going to add that tapered line to. Way too thick. Let's go back down to the 0.25. Later I'll show you how to create some custom brushes for this kind of stuff so that you get exactly the thicknesses and shapes that you want out of your brushes. It gives you more control. And I'm going to fill this in. So now I've got that. Now the next piece I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the mouth. And the mouth is complicated because you have to go like this. And it looks pretty easy, right? We're just going to draw the next piece. What it's going to do is it actually winds up like combining and adjusting the whole thing. So you have to click on the arrow tool, deselect that thing. You might want to thicken it up a little bit. Go back up to 1 or 2 or whatever. But make sure it's not selected. Selected, not selected. Get the pencil tool again, and now you can draw the rest of the mouth shape. Big, happy monkey smile. There we go. I also have to add this one in here down here. And I want to try to close these shapes as much as possible. I want to have a filled in area and deselect. That deselecting part is essential. If you don't deselect it, you're going to wind up adding shapes onto shapes, which can be frustrating. Okay, next, the eyes. Now the eyes, let's see how fast we can draw the eyes. I'm going to take the ellipse tool, and using the space bar I can move that around. Now clearly it's too inorganic, it's too geometric. I don't want organic shapes, but I do want this to be sort of easy, right? Let's take this point down at the bottom and move that up. Now your character may have some different stuff going on, different design, I hope. And so part of the puzzle that you're doing is, you know, I hate this, too geometric. Anyways, your project is going to have a different character, and you have different visual problems to solve. And even though some of this looks geometric, man, if I had a tab with this, it'd go a lot better. Even though it looks geometric, it's not going to be a geometric fit. Now this time I'm actually going to use the ellipse. I'm not going to change my mind this time. Got to deselect before I change the colors. Okay, switch that. And I'm going to get the ellipse. I am going to change this just a smidge because I want it wider. Let's see, get the black arrow. I want to widen that up a little bit. And for some reason I feel like I want to make the bottom narrower. A little artistic flair there. And if you want to get interesting with it, you can grab the brush tool and change your brush color to white and give them a little bit of a, wow, that didn't work. Let's see, let's give that this effect. So now I've got like a flare on his eye. And if I take this shape here, let's bump that size up. Let's use this little brush, thin it down, and let's make sure that we use fill with this. There we go, because now we can take that whole thing and alt drag it over. Didn't really work out too good. What I'm going to do there, because it's farther away, is I can actually shrink it down and move it over. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is the neck. Whoop, whoop. And it looks like I did, oh, I still got him. Okay, I thought for a minute that I didn't have the original line in there. Now this is not a dominant piece, so I'm not going to make it very thick. And thicker lines call more attention to themselves. So you want to be careful about that. So there's my line drawing, which I can now take to Adobe Photoshop for my color process. Before I do, I'm going to hide the line layer. I'm going to save my document as an Adobe Illustrator. Make sure you always save as Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to call this Monkey Bites, or Monkey Mascot. Monkey Mascot. I can spell. I got it. Okay, there you have it.